Okay, so today I'm changing my idler pulley on my 1998 Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited. These are a lot different. It's a ZJ model. I've YouTubed a lot of places and they had different versions, 93, 94, all the way up to 98. But the Limiteds are built differently, so I thought I'd share this out. So far what I've done was I've reached in. This on the top here, as you can see, is my brake pump, my hydraulic pump. But right there is where my belt tensioner pulley loose bolt is, so you have to loosen that quite a bit, and then you got to get down in here on that bottom pulley there and loosen that, because it wouldn't move for me, and that was why. So I got off this idler pulley. It's making lots of squeaky noises. There's the new one. I kept thinking it was my air conditioning pump that was going, but it wasn't. The AC was working fine and everyone was blaming the AC pump, which is right here, and it was working beautifully and it wasn't making a noise, but because the idler pulley sits right below it and to the right in this little crack here, as you can see it's removed, that was making all the noise. And for 10 bucks on Amazon, I'm doing it myself. So as I reassemble this, you'll get an idea of how to take it apart too, because it's the same steps, just in reverse order. So I'm going to go ahead and pause for now and grease up this part here. Move the towel out of the way. This part here came with the old one. This one came with the new one. But I really don't like how exposed all of this is now. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little bit of WD-40 here and clean it up a bit. So when I sit it back on top of here, it'll be good. I have some silicone lubricant I'm going to put in here just to make sure. I couldn't find anywhere online if it needed it or not. I'm just playing safe than sorry. You see on the back here why it's all making some squealy noises. So I'm going to go ahead and get that going. Okay, so I've degreased this guy and got it cleaned up the best I can. I'm going to use this actually. This is the stuff I was using to spray behind this to keep it from squealing, and it would last a good couple of weeks, but then now it's only lasting a couple of days. So instead of having this sucker blow, because if this blows, you're going to be in some trouble on the freeway. Your belt will slip off and cause all sorts of engine trouble. I decided to go ahead and hurry up and order this guy here. So I'm going to use some of this just to be on the safe side. It says it's waterproof and whatnot. I'm going to be real gentle on it because, again, I couldn't read anywhere if it needed anything special. It feels like it's pre-lubricated. I just want to play safe. I'm going to go ahead and spray a little bit of this guy on here. I'll get my phone wet. I'm going to just grab the other side real quick. And then I'm going to go ahead and I recycled this off the old pulley. Go ahead and put that guy on there. Feels good. And now we're going to go ahead and start reinstalling it. So to reinstall it, I'm going to recycle the old bolt. And we're going to go ahead. It's going to take me a little minute. I won't be able to shoot while I'm doing it, but this guy goes underneath and to the right of the AC pump. Now it's a good idea to take this cover off. I'm just a little, my hands are small, so I can reach in there okay. But it is a little bit troublesome. If you can get this plastic piece off safely, I'd do that. Okay, so as small as my hands are, I'm having a really hard time getting it in. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this hose. And then this will help me get all the clearance I need, even for someone with moderate hands, to get in there. I just dropped a screw and was able to rescue it. So instead of making another chance at it, I'm just going to loosen this guy right here with a screwdriver so I can get my hands into that idler pulley area. And there we go. So I have the hose off. It did drip a little bit, so we want to make sure that we don't get burnt because this thing could be hot, and it's always good to work with a cool engine when we can. Never good to work on a hot engine. So now we're going to go ahead and install that idler pulley. So there it is. I have the idler pulley in place. See it there with the bolt hanging out? I want to, of course, go ahead and fix that. One mistake I kept making was I kept catching myself putting it on top of this belt. You want it under the belt. You can usually catch a full diagram of how your belts are supposed to sit, and if you don't follow this diagram here, when you turn your vehicle on, you may have to tow it to the mechanic. It's gonna damage things beyond belief. So you want to make sure things are spinning in the right direction at the right speed. So I have my idler pulley now there in place. I'll go ahead and secure it. And again, make sure you're following your diagram. You can see there's my idler pulley on the diagram, and I'm just gonna go tighten it up. Just in case you need to know, it is handy to have, what size did I end up figuring out working? A 15 millimeter, so that's what I'm using. And it's short, so I don't want to use any extensions or anything like that because the space in there is tight. Okay, all set. As with anything, don't over tighten. As you can see, the bolt is secured, and if I stick my hands in there, the belt's still loose and I can freely turn it with my fingers, so we know that we have a successful installation. Now what we're going to do here to button everything up is we're going to go ahead and have to tighten this bolt down here. As you can see, I had to take the sensor off. We don't want this sensor being on while we're working because we could rip the wire. So to unplug that, and then we tighten the bottom bolt below the top pulley here, and that will keep our tension in place. We'll do a few tests before we actually take it on the road to make sure we're not squealing and that we're not over tightened. So it's a good idea to make sure that you read your owner's manual so you know how far to tighten it. I actually counted. I don't know if counting is a good measure, but I've been doing this long enough to know where to set this. You can see I'm going to have to soon replace my belt too, because it's got some wear from the old idler pulley not operating properly. It's always a good idea to switch this out during the same job if you can. I'll probably end up switching this out a little bit later, see if I can get a little more wear out of it. But so again, follow your diagram, and as you can see, right now my belt is actually slipped off of the correct spot. This will happen because I needed room to put on the idler pulley. So I want to slip this belt back in place before I begin tightening things down. Also, I want to make sure that all these little lands and grooves are properly mated with the pulleys, so when I start the engine it doesn't rip off. So we want to just double check everything, make sure everything is in the right spot. Especially look at your water pump below, because that's the most loosened thing. Right where my thumb is here is your water pump, so you want to make sure that that belt that drives that water pump is exactly where it needs to be. And as you can see, it's not here, so I just go ahead and snap it back in place, and we're good to go to start tightening things down. So I'll start tightening this up a little bit here, and then once I'm comfortable with the position that it's in, I'll go ahead and lock it in place with this bolt here. This is the tricky bolt. This is very, very tricky to get to, but I don't use any extensions, and I'm able to use this as playroom right here. One thing I forgot to note, and it's super important, you're going to want at least this long extension arm. You have to have this. There's no other way you're going to be able to do this job without it. This is absolutely 100% required. You can also get this little swivel that seems to help me out on some jobs. This one here, not so much. But it did help me loosen that lower pulley just enough to get my hands in there. But these two, this piece at least, this long bar, definitely pick it up. It's only a few bucks. You can get it anywhere. I got a Craftsman, so you can beat on it a little bit if you have to. I'm just using this second extension arm so I don't have to ratchet the wrench too much. But yeah, definitely pick one of these up for this job. So one thing I had to do while the engine was running was to tighten my belt. So I heard it squealing, and I just want to go a couple turns more than that, because it is possible to overturn your belt. I do remember that I make sure you plug back in your radiator. You'll see the level go down a little bit as we lost some. But this is a good way to make sure that you're not over tightening your belt. You definitely don't want to do that. So while the engine was running, I went ahead and very carefully adjusted it. I'm going to just give it another turn or two, and then we're going to monitor it after that. So I have to shut the engine off to tighten down the tension pulley so it's not sitting there so freely. And then that's it. We're pretty much done.